now you have a chance to put your life in order, to get forgiveness, to give forgiveness.
I've now had 120 patients with spiritual near-death experiences. They're not afraid of death anymore.
That when we die is not the end. The story continues.
So we're just surrounded by possibility. We're creating our own reality, our own future. Can you share some positive highlights of your time in oncology?
Oh, the love, absolutely. People used to tell me, how can you do a job that is so depressing? But maybe it's true that good people are the ones who get cancer. They're nice people. But I was a magnet for the most wonderful people in the world, and they became my lesson in perspective. Whatever I could have complained of, that my daughter's special needs had health issues, that it was nothing compared to what they were facing. So being in constant exposure with people, some of them with their days numbered, really made me appreciate every moment of life. And I learned so much.
Cancer does teach us, right? We're not living in the past anymore, which is depression. We're not living in the future, which is anxiety. We're living in the moment with that diagnosis, and our relationships are much more important. Yet we also figure out who is not important to be relating to. We find out who the negative energy folks are. Now, my mother died in a car wreck on New Year's Eve, 1994, and I didn't get an opportunity to say goodbye to her. So another blessing, if you wish, of the cancer diagnosis is you do get a chance to mend fences and to really express to your loved ones how much they really mean to you.
I used to say that to my patients when I had to have the conversations that the cancer was incurable as of the current means of science. I would tell them, we are all going to die, absolutely everybody. And you were given the gift of a little notice in advance. So now you have a chance to put your life in order, to get forgiveness, to give forgiveness, to do the things that in your bucket list that you still want to do.
It's an opportunity to change our personality, to change our name, and completely reinvent ourselves. You know, I think when we go through medical school, it's kind of like boot camp, and we're kind of taught to not trust anything we can't touch, see, hear. Maybe if you were spiritual starting out, there may be some where that gets hammered out, at least initially. But, what's your experience with that?
I've been talking about this in my YouTube channel. Physicians, scientists in general, are victims of the scientific materialistic approach. Sometime in the past, it became such a pride that we are not believing in anything we cannot prove with a scientific method, that we are stuck and forgetting that quantum physics says almost nothing is provable and visible, the spectrum of light. We are so not humble. We have forgotten that the number one trait of a scientist is open mind and humility and the ability to understand I don't know what I don't know. It's become a stigma, a shame to call yourself spiritual if you're a scientist. And there's no reason for that. Oh my God.
Yeah, thanks for, that's beautifully stated. It really is scientism. It's not true science because, as you mentioned, science is open-minded, is open to other possibilities. It says, well, I'm not aware of that, but let's look at it and see. But scientism is dogma, saying, well, that's not possible, so no point in doing research. We've got to get away from this dogmatism in science. The reality, as you say, it's just ignorance because it's lack of awareness of quantum physics. So I point out to my patients that you imagine an atom having a nucleus 1 inch wide, and the diameter of the atom is 1 mile wide, right? So we're 99.9999999% hot air to begin with. But there was this fellow named Einstein who commented that E equals mc squared, energy and mass interchange, meaning that even that particle is part of the time in waveform. So even that tiny bit of solidity that we have is going back into waveform. But that's very powerful at the same time because we understand through quantum physics, every thought we're generating a wave. And it's my belief if we're having positive waves, that's immediately healing because our body is so porous. And because we're energetic beings as well, you can heal from a physical basis, and that's what oncology is all about. But you also can heal, of course, on a spiritual basis. If you get enough prayer warriors together praying on your behalf, because we are in fact energy entities, we can heal instantly on a spiritual level.
Would you like to hear more about other systems that deny the current medical paradigm? Ayurvedic medicine, A Course in Miracles, Anita Moorjani's Theory of Healing. Please comment and let me know what would you like to hear about next.
What do you find as far as spirituality with oncologists? What percent would you say are spiritual individuals?
The majority of oncologists I ever met are very far from being spiritual. The few that I met who are, for example, a boss I used to have who I really admired, those were usually people raised in religious traditions, the people who had less burnout, who could find the most peace of mind and understand, not take personal the death of their patients, and who could offer the most support and the most meaning to their patients. So at return of medicine to some form of spirituality, and we have to stop calling it a cuss word and bringing it to the table, is going to save physicians from burnout and is going to help patients a lot and even maybe save the healthcare system from bankruptcy. When we stop operating from fear and we operate from love, we will need to see absolutely everything different. And also, when the patients remember that this life is not all that there is, that it's okay to let go, because when we die, it's not the end. The story continues.
I've shared with you that I've now had 120 patients with spiritual near-death experiences or near-death-like experiences. They report the other realm is more real than this realm. They get mad about coming back. They're not afraid of death anymore, become very mission-oriented. Now, I've had a couple that have had negative near-death experiences. One was an alcoholic. He didn't share details, but it shook him up. He stopped drinking immediately. And so for the next few years, he did everything he could to make amends. And then he was in pulmonary ICU and then had another spiritual near-death experience. And this time it was blissful. So I think it does matter, how we live our lives. I tell my tumor patients at the first visit, and it's crucial to do this. There was research in mice where they implanted breast tumors and stressed one group of the mice, and the group that were stressed had a 30-fold increase in metastases. So the most important thing with the cancer diagnosis is peacefulness. Yet patients get scared half to death by their physicians oftentimes, or by oncologists, or by others, and decisions are fear-driven. And it's my belief if we're having positive waves, that's immediately healing because our body is so porous. And if we're having negative thoughts, it's immediately detrimental. And I think with most any health disorder, if you can get in a state of mind 24/7 of positivity, that you can heal most any disorder. And that's crucial. But, how do you do that? Well, number one, when you wake up in the morning, when you go to bed at night, say your prayers, set your intentions, let the Creator, let the universe know what it is that you want. Because we're just surrounded by waves, these waves of possibility, and they only become real when we think and when we speak and act on those waves. Okay, so we're just surrounded by possibility. We're creating our own reality, our own future with us. I also advise patients to, forgive 3 people every day and maybe ask for forgiveness from some. Say 10 things that you're grateful for every morning, 10 different things you're grateful for every evening. Switch to a state of gratitude. We have indoor lighting, indoor plumbing, climate control. We didn't have any of that 100 years ago, so we're spoiled in so many ways. If you have low self-esteem, say 10 things positive about yourself. And if you have a negative thought, you may have 17 seconds to cancel it. You can say cancel, cancel out loud or to yourself. When you get cancer, You can consider yourself a victim, but it's my personal belief that even before birth, you plan out what challenges you're going to have to grow your soul while you're here on this earth. I've had over a dozen of those spiritual near-death patients who were told you have to go back, and were shoved right back down. In other words, death is not arbitrary. It's true, you go drive off a cliff if you want, but if you try to die too early, you get shoved back down and told it's not your time. And we've heard that time and again and again. So there is a right time to die. And I've had a couple of individuals who actually lived beyond the time they were supposed to die, and they experienced consequences tied in with that. You don't die too soon. You don't die too late. You die when you're supposed to. Now, that said, I think there are different portals. You can die at this time, but I think you can talk with the Creator and say, well, I realize I get to graduate at this time, and thank you for that opportunity, but there's more I can do to help create heaven on earth. So let's talk about this a little bit, and I'll explain my plan. There is flexibility with that. We get to graduate at certain times, but we can make a good case to try to hang on.
If this conversation has helped you, please consider sharing it with someone you care for. Tell me what other topics you would like me to discuss in the future, and consider subscribing. And if you have a question about your health, this is the time to ask it. Send me one via the comments now.